Hey there, it's Chrissy K. Rollins here, and this year I'm taking my holistic healing circle through a deep dive into the creative process, and I'm sharing weekly videos focused on guiding you step by step to understanding what it really takes to create the change that you desire in your life so that you can overcome challenges and limitations that have been holding you back from creating what you desire most in your life. In this video, I'll be sharing insights around the secret to creating any change. What's the catalyst behind it? I'm going to reveal that to you next. And after that, I'm going to follow it up with a tutorial on how to create this sweet little gnome. And I'll share with you how creating art has helped me to really embrace the creative process and overcome many of the limitations that were holding me back in creating what I desired in the rest of the areas of my life. So if you want to see that process, then stick around after the quick chat. And now let's get started. Okay, for over 10 years now, I have been guiding people through the process of what it means to get out of your head, get into your body, and start living life from the heart. I have helped to take you behind the scenes to understand all the unseen aspects of what it really takes to show up consistently in your life and to create a life that you're really excited to wake up to in the morning. And so to begin the creative process, I think it's very helpful to understand some of the energy behind it and what their subconscious motivations are for creating change. If I were to ask you, why do people make changes in their life? It seems kind of obvious that we make changes whenever we see that there's a better way. We make changes when we have a desire for something different in our life. But if you're like me, just seeing that there's another way and just desiring things to be different doesn't really change all that much. In fact, many of us talk about the change that we want to create over and over and over again without actually taking real action. And somewhere in my journey, I got really curious about this. Why did some people take action consistently? How come there were actions that I wanted to take that I wasn't showing up for consistently? And I started to tap into and uncover what was lying behind the scenes, under the surface, subconsciously in the mind that was holding me back and countless others back from taking the action that we wanted and creating the change that we desired in our life. And then it occurred to me, this is why people don't make change, or let's say it this way, this is when people actually do. What is it that gets to tip the scale so that you go from talking about things, thinking about things, planning things, to actually creating them in your life? It's actually only one factor. And once you can pinpoint this factor, you'll know to look for it every single time that you have this desire in your heart, but you're not moving forward. Do you want to know when people create change? People create change. You create change. I create change. You create change when your fear of things staying the same outweighs your fear of the unknown. You see, the unknown is the place where all of our hopes, our dreams, our desires, that life that we crave, that thing that we want, it lies over in this imaginary realm called the unknown. If you haven't lived it, if you haven't experienced, if you haven't had it firsthand in the real here and now, it is over in this mystery land of the unknown. And it's unknown how it's going to unfold. And it's unknown if you're going to succeed. And it's unknown what it's really going to be like until you actually live into it. That place of the unknown is the last place that your mind wants to take you to. You see, the mind is a safety mechanism. We'll get more into this in next week's video, but its job is to keep you alive. Its job is pure survival. And the worst thing to a mind that is trying to keep you alive is an unknown situation. When you face the unknown, you got no idea what's going to happen. You don't know if you can overcome it, avoid it, defeat it, find another way around it. And because what we want, although it gets us excited, it lives in this realm of unknown, and the path to it is unknown as well, even if others have taken it before. You haven't journeyed down it. For your mind, it is the unknown. And facing the unknown is the last thing that the mind wants to do when it's programmed to be a survival tool for you. So throughout this year, I'll be taking you through a deeper journey and understanding how to befriend the mind, how to shift the mind, how to start working with the mind in a different way. But for today's video, to keep it short, sweet, and concise, just know that you will take the change. You will start to move in the direction of your desires when your fear of things staying the same outweigh your fear of the unknown. And I remember running into this, the first time that I consciously ran into this is when I decided I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I decided I didn't want to make dollars per hour answering the phone and scheduling appointments in somebody else's office, working full time. I wanted to have a family. I wanted to be a primary caretaker of that family. And I wanted something more. And there was a path that was shown to me that I can make full-time income working part-time hours if I would just take that leap to go out and start my own business. And at first, the thought of stepping away from a set paycheck, the thought of jumping into this unknown realm was enough to make me cry. Like instantly, I would just burst into tears. And I remember driving down the road, I'd have this thought about needing to do something different, a desire of making a change, and I would just burst into tears. It was so scary for me to think about leaping into this unknown realm. But eventually, those tears and that fear got trumped by my desire to live life more aligned to what I felt was true for me. And the fear and the tears started to turn over to excitement and desire and craving. And eventually, I went from thinking I'm scared to death to do this to I have to do this. And yeah, it's a little bit scary, but I won't know until I go. So until your current circumstances are at a point that staying in them is more uncomfortable than venturing into the unknown, then you're probably going to keep on doing what you're doing. And we know that in return, you're going to keep getting what you're getting. But when you're really ready, and especially when you can bring some conscious thought to this connection, what if the thing that's holding you back is the fear of the unknown? Well, then you can bring in some logical thinking. You can begin to set yourself up for success by making a logical plan on how to move forward. And you can begin to negotiate with your mind and that subconscious, tricky, sneaky little subconscious mind. You can begin to negotiate it with it to help to frame it into a different perspective. So the unknown becomes a little bit more familiar, a little bit less scary, and something that your mind is willing to help you travel into. So I think next week we'll have a discussion on the subconscious mind and how that plays into things. But if you're interested in going through a creative process with me right now, then stick around and I'm going to show you how to make this cute little gnome. I hope you can see it here. It's a little ornament. You can hang it up as decoration. You can make it Christmassy and hang it up on your Christmas tree. This one I did with pink and red and gave her a little couple berets to make it a little bit more Valentine's Day. Totally up to you, however you want to make this. And I wanted to share this with you because art is how one of the ways that I have really embraced not knowing how to do anything, but then doing it anyway. So I want to take you through this process. It's very empowering whenever you create something on your own. And if it calls to you, maybe you can make one on your own. And if not, you can definitely head over to our Etsy shop at bit.ly/shop-holistic. And these little fellas are going to be, probably by the time you're reading this, they should be available in the shop. And you can check out the different colors, variety, customize them, whatever it is. You can get one already made for you there. Okay, so part of the reason why I picked this one to start with is because it's a super simple process. And most likely you have most of the items that you need in order to make this laying around your house. I'll put a list of the materials that you'll need for it in the description, but basically you just need a pair of scissors, a ruler so you can do some measuring, a pencil so that you can mark some of your measurements. You'll also need an empty toilet paper or paper towel roll. This is just an empty toilet paper roll. This one can make 4 of these cute little hats that this little guy's wearing. You can make 4 of them out of this one toilet paper roll, so you'll need that. You will also need some yarn. Pick 2 different colors. You're going to need one that is for the hat color and one that is for the hair color. You can choose whatever you want. Gnomes, have you ever seen one in real life? I've not seen one in real life, so I'm making my gnome today that I'm going to show you. Its hair is going to be this lovely mint green color. And I'm going to use black for the hat along with some leftover pieces for some other hats that I've already made. So I'm going to alternate black with other color strings because this is your world. You can create whatever it is that you want. This is the way that I'm going to create mine. And then for the only other thing that you need is a little bit of glue. I really like this tacky glue. There's different kinds of crafting tacky glue. I think this one works really, really well. You'll need that to hold on the gnome's little nose here. And for its nose, I chose to use an acorn. I like to do things with nature as often as possible. I like to help you connect back to nature as often as possible. So I just have a couple of acorns here that I just collected off the ground, some from the yard, some from shopping area trees that are growing. You can find them, just look for them, pick them up, stick a couple in your pocket and save them because they are a lot of fun for making nature-inspired crafts. Okay, so to begin this process, again, start with your toilet paper roll. What you need is about an inch ring. These are typically, from my experience, about 4 inches long. So I just hold my ruler up to it and I mark 1 inch spots all the way across because I'll probably make more than one of these, but today we're just going to make one. So I just put a little mark at the 1 inch mark, a little mark at the 2 inch mark, and a little mark at the 3 inch mark. And then I use my scissors here, kind of fold it down a little bit. It's going to get a little bit bent up, but that's okay. It'll pop back into its shape, especially once you get the yarn on there, and just cut straight across. If you're super concerned about cutting straight, you can draw a straight line. I just made a little mark and then I just let my scissors do the work because nothing in life is perfect. And that is a very important part to embrace during the creative process, be it you're creating something artistically or if you're creating something outwardly for the world. There's no such thing as perfect. So getting close enough is good enough. And there's beauty in the flaws. So be able to embrace those flaws. Now, this is going to be the brim of the hat for this part of our gnome's hat. And then all that you do is take some yarn. You're going to need, if you use 2 colors, you can use 3 colors, 4 colors, you can use 1 solid color, totally up to you. And what you're going to do is cut some 12-inch pieces of yarn, 12 inches. Just hold it up to your ruler, cut it. I'm going to show you how you can do this super quick. You're going to need about 50 of these. I find that I use between 45 and 50 every time that I do it. So if I'm using 2 colors, I'll usually make like 23, 24, 25 of each color at 12 inches. And I already have about half of them made here with all these different color leftover scraps that I have. So I am actually just going to use my black yarn here. And a super easy way to do this, if you know you're going to need, say, 24 12-inch strips, pieces of yarn, then just grab your ruler, hold the tip of the yarn at one point, and then just wrap it around. This is a 12-inch ruler, so I can just wrap it around, and as I'm wrapping around, I can count to make sure that I have got enough length to make 12 individual ones. So work your way until you've got 24 or 25. If you're doing 2 colors, you can split it up into like 16 or 17 if you're doing 3 colors, and make between 45 and 50 if you're just doing 1 color. And then once you have it all counted out, then you just simply slip it off one end. I usually hold on to it, go ahead and get my scissors in there, cut that little loop, and then I grab the end, come down to the other side, and cut the little loop down here. And just like that, you have your 12-inch pieces of yarn. So make sure you do that for both colors. And then the other yarn that we need to cut is going to be for the little mustache hair, or this little front hair, and then for the longer hair that is in the back. So what I like to do is go with 7-inch strips for the longer hair. And what I happen to do is I've just found a piece of cardboard that had 7 inches in length, and I drew a 7-inch line. So that's what I measure to. And that just makes it super easy. If you cut down a piece of cardboard, or you have something to just make it a little bit quicker for you to measure out the length that you want. I really love this wrapping technique, especially since we're just going to be cutting straight lines. So again, I just hold the tip at one end. I follow my little line that I drew on there that I know is 7 inches, and then I can just freely wrap around here. And you're going to want about 50 pieces of yarn that are at the 7-inch mark. So you can just wrap it around until you count to 50. So the interesting thing that I find about the creative process, even someone who has like studied and reverse engineered the creative process and what's the inner and outer workings of creating change in your life, even though I know all the stuff I'm going to be sharing that I shared on this video, that I'll be sharing throughout our journey together, it doesn't mean that I am exempt and immune from the entire process. It doesn't mean that I can just dive in and go through a checklist of what to do. I mean, yes, I can and I do, but my point that I'm making here is just because you're aware that your mind is the thing that's trying to keep you safe and keeping you from venturing into what it is that you desire most, it doesn't mean that you're all of a sudden free of your mind working this way. This is absolutely how the mind works. Its job is to keep you safe. So just because you become aware of this process doesn't mean you're immune to it. Every time that I sit down to create something, especially if I'm creating a commission piece that someone has bought and ordered specifically for themselves, I get so anxious and I procrastinate. I procrastinate on taking the steps because I'm worried I'm going to mess it up. Crazy, right? I've done it 50,000 times, but I still get worried that I'm going to mess it up. Even making this video, a little worried I'm going to mess it up. But then somewhere along the lines, I had to realize taking imperfect action was better than taking no action. So here I am, imperfectly for you. Once you have this wrapped around about 50 times, slide it off the end. Again, you can cut the ends for cutting material. See, much better. And then you want to cut both ends, and then you've got your 50-ish little pieces for the longer hair. You can set those to the side. And then the last thing that you want to do are the pieces for the shorter hair up front. This could be a mustache if you're making a boy. This can be the hair that you braid if you're making a girl, or whatever it is that really, really speaks to you. And these I like to do at 5 inches. So this end of my cardboard is 5 inches. So I just repeat the same technique, only I do it down at this other end, making them 5 inches. And then I just count 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way up to 30. So you want about 50 of the 12-inch strings for the hat. You want about 50 of the 7-inch strings for the bottom, or the bulk of the hair. And then you'll want about 30 of the 5-inch strings for the front hair or the mustache hair, whichever way you want to call that. Great. And then we slide that off, give it a little trim, and set it to the side. Okay, I want to start with the hat because I always start with the hat. So I'm going to get that part first, and then I'll show you what to do with those hair and body pieces. Okay, so to start with the hat, I'm going to be alternating this black yarn along with a different color. And what you do, grab one of your 12-inch pieces of yarn. You're going to find the middle of it. Find the middle of it so that they're about even. And then you're going to get your little ring here, and you're going to slip it through so that you've got a loop on one side and your other pieces hanging down at the bottom. You're going to bring these other pieces through the loop and pull that tight. And you'll see it will make a nice little loop that this holds through, just like that. And you're going to repeat this process with whatever way that you want to alternate your colors, or however it is that you feel called. If you're doing all the same color, you just do one after the other. Just make sure you always put the loop in. I do it from left to right, tucking the loop into the middle of the ring and then pulling the other ends through. And then you just tuck them side by side. Just tighten the string and they will just hang there side by side. And then just repeat this until you have your yarn all the way around. So once you do this all the way around, this is what you have. You have a totally yarn covered top part. They should be all laying flat next to one another with the little knotted loop down at the bottom. And then it kind of looks like a jellyfish whenever you're done. So the reason that I say to do about 50 12-inch strings is because depending on the thickness of your yarn, if you have like an acrylic yarn like this one, or if you have a thinner cotton one like this one, you can use either one. Whatever you have is totally fine. I'm using a mix of both because these are my leftover pieces from previous makes. And depending on the thickness of it will depend how many you need to go around. You just want to make sure that there's no gaps showing, everything's nice and tight and not all bundled up. Whenever you're done, you can leave it just like this and proceed to the next step with it being just like this, and have this little knitted loop kind of stitching kind of show, or you can twist the ends just like this and then pop it straight through. So you want to just push every end out the other way and give it just a little bit of a push and a slide against those loops to turn them where they go to the inside of the ring. And then you'll have a slightly more finished look. I like the way that it looks this way. I like it the other way too. I've done them both ways. I make them both ways, but my personal preference, I kind of like this little tiny extra step to get it through. So you should have all the little ends pulled through. Make sure that you get every single one of them through because you're going to need them to tie up the hat at the end. And then it's just a little bit more finished and you've got the little hat started. I think that turned out pretty cute. And just going to set that to the side so that we can get the body put together. Now, chances are you probably will have 1 to 5 or 6 leftover strings, as I do. I've got about 6 left over here, 7 left over here, but just use one of them, whichever color goes well with the hat. You're going to actually need 2 of them. You're going to have one that you tie the final string to close up the hat, and then you're going to have one that you're going to use right now to put the hair together, and I will show you that. So to get the hair gathered together, you're going to take your 7-inch bundle. You should have about 50 of them here with a 7-inch cut. And then you'll take one of your leftover pieces of thread. Again, make sure that it matches the colors that you have in your hat, because this will become an extra, the tie that will stick out of the top as well. And then what I like to do, there's various different ways to do this. If you've seen this done before, you may find it demonstrated differently. I'm just going to show you the way that I make it. I bring my string here to the center of it and I just give it one little tie, leaving enough room that I can do this again with the second bundle. So you want to make sure you're kind of close to the middle. You can double check it just by picking it up and making sure that you're close to the middle there. And then I like to take my second bundle, the slightly shorter. I just do one little loop there. So just like a one pull through tie. And then I take my second bundle, put it right on top. And then I repeat that process, but this time I make it a full knot. So I'm going to loop it through once and then loop it through twice. And again, you want to make sure that you have enough of your yarn left that this can be easy for you to tie. Mine's a little bit short, but quite all right. And you can give this a third tie just to make sure that it's nice and tight. It should be fine with just 2, but if you like to just have that little extra bit of reassurance that it's not going to go anywhere, there you go. Now, whenever you hold it up, you should have one that hangs slightly more in front, the shorter one, and the longer one hanging slightly more in back. And there you have the hair of your gnome. Now, you are just going to grab your hat, you set it to the side, you're going to take this long string, feed it through and find it to come out the other end amongst all of these little strings. And then there you go. You've got a hat sitting on top of your, here we go. This is the front. Hat sitting on top of your little gnome. Now we just need to put a little bit of foam inside the hat to give it a little bit more puffiness, and then we'll glue on the nose and we will be all set to go. Okay, now that you've got your little gnome guy here and the hat, what we're going to do is just flip the little strings for the hat over and then find where you have that middle string, because you're going to want to know where that's at. But go ahead and spread these around so that they're all laid around nice and covering, because what we're going to do at the end is just pull it all up to the top, and we want to make sure that there's good coverage, and these can get kind of out of place. So just take a little moment. The longer you take now to get this a little bit more strained out, the easier it's going to be once we get his hat filled up or her hat filled up. So now we're going to need a piece of polyfill, or you can just use tissues, or you could use cotton balls, really whatever you have on hand. I happen to have some of this. We even save the little puffy stuff that comes in our vitamin jars, and we reuse that. So just get a piece. This piece is about 2 inches by 4 inches. Sometimes I do like 1 inch by 6 inch. Doesn't really matter. You just want enough that you can have a nice little ball of fluff. And then I like to put it around and pull. Remember that long string that you have for the body? I like to put that in the middle of the polyfill and then just ball this all up around, tuck it down into the brim of the hat so that it's got a little bit of a stay there to it. And then you can flip this upside down, bring all these ends around. It's okay if your little guy slips out, you can pull him back up again. Just got to kind of work with it until you get it all tidied up. And then once you get these strings nice and neat around, you can see it starts to form like a little hat. You can tuck in part if any of the polyfill is showing or if any of the cotton showing, you can definitely tuck that in, and you can tuck that in a little bit more once it's tied up too. But again, I find it just helpful to get everything into place before I tie it. And I also find that you can tie it on your own, but it's so much easier to do when you have an extra set of hands. And I actually happen to have an extra set of hands right here. So I'm going to ask my assistant here to hold that for me. She's just going to hold where it's gathered, hold up that top part. Thank you, ma'am. And then I'm going to take my other string. Remember I told you we're going to need a couple extra strings. And we got a couple left over to work with, and just tie it around. I like to tie it once so that it's got a good hold on it, and then I can alleviate my assistant. Thank you, ma'am, so much. And then voila, you have got this cute little gnome with this cute little hat, and all we got to do now is clean it up a little bit. Okay, so I tied the knot in a little bow. I'm going to just go around and make sure anywhere that the polyfill is showing that I move the little yarn strings around and make sure that they are all nice and covered up. And then your little guy, you'll see, still can kind of slide out here. So we're going to pull this up to the top, and then we're going to loop it back down on itself and make a little slip knot. So just wrap it around, and just basically you're just tying a knot of the string to itself in a way that you can slide the knot up and down. So that is there, just a little loop knot, just like that. And then you can pull this part and slide it down just like that. And now you've got somewhere to hang up your little guy. So all that we need to do now is trim these little ends, glue on a little acorn nose fork, and then I'll show you how you can trim this to look like a little mustache and finish it off. Once you do that little knot, he should stay in place. So you don't have to worry about him sliding down. And if he does, you just pull him right back up again. Now, to trim off the end pieces, what I like to do, make sure that the loop is out of the way and the little bow, if you tied a bow for your hat tie there. And then I just usually pinch them between my fingers. So you see, I've got it pinched right here between my fingers. And then I trim off all this excess. And then it just gives it a nice, tidy little poof on top. So cute. So cute. And then find the spot where the front short little hairs come together. You'll see there's like a little spot that it opens up, and this is where you're going to place your nose. So to do that, just get an acorn. You can do a bigger acorn, and you can have a slightly bigger nose, which I think I'm going to do for this one because that looks pretty daggone cute there. You can do a bigger nose, so he's got a little bit of a bigger nose showing, or you can do the smaller acorn and do a little bit of a smaller. Oh, they're cute. That small one's cute too. Totally up to you, whichever one you want. And then, yeah, I think I'm going to do the bigger acorn. So then you just take your tacky glue. You can obviously just squeeze it right on there. I like to dip out my glue with a little Q-tip so that I can have a little bit more control over where it goes and where it doesn't go. And so I'll just dip some on here. And then I put the glue on the top portion all the way around. So we've got a little bit in the front, a little bit on this top, and then a little bit heavier in the back part. And that's just going to glue straight on to the yarn itself. And what I like about this tacky glue is that it grabs hold pretty quickly, and it just seems to adhere really, really well to fabrics and other material. So I'm just going to stick that little nose right there, kind of push it up against the front of the hat. And then what I like to do is take my hands from the back and kind of push his body against it so that we got a nice tight little seal. Just like that. And then once it's in there, you can see this tacky glue holds it right away. It's still far too gentle to really be roughed with, but as far as holding it in place, it totally will. And if you want to trim up this little mustache hair, just cut it at a little bit of an angle, starting at the acorn and working a way down and down. So it's got just that little bit of an angle. So I'm just going to grab my scissors here and just cut a little bit of that, just like that. See, here's the unknown again. And the brain's like, what happens if you cut it wrong? If you cut it wrong, then you just cut it again and you cut it some more. You cut it until it's cute in the way that you like it. And then if you want to, if you like this being a little bit more even, you can totally trim this up down here too. Or if you want to give it like a little bit of a curvature, or if you want to clean up the hat some, totally up to you. This is your little guide. There is no right or wrong. And it's just for you to create and enjoy. Now, if you wanted to, you could leave this hair a little bit longer and put in a couple braids like I did for my little Valentine's Day gnome here. So it just gives it a little bit of an extra touch. Totally up to you. If you do this, take pictures. Let me see what you created. If you don't do this, that's totally fine. If you want to purchase one of these little guys, hop over to our Etsy shop. You absolutely can. The point of this is to get you showing that it is possible for you to create what you've never done before, and to also give you an easy opportunity to run into how the mind shows up during the creative process, so you can get to know what goes through your mind as you go through the creative process. Mindset will make or break the creative process for you. Every week, I'm going to be dropping little bite-sized mindset prompts to help you to better shift your mindset as this year unfolds. Each week, I'm going to be dropping videos just like this to give you another piece of the creative process puzzle and walk you through a real easy tutorial. So if you like to create things, come for the tutorial. If you like to learn about the creative process, come for that. If you want it all, come get all of it. And I will see you again soon. Thanks so much for watching. If you have any thoughts, tips, anything that has worked well for you, if you've made something like this before, any tips, any questions, any thoughts, I'd love your feedback. Did you like this? Do you like this approach? Do you like the little tutorial along with the little teaching lesson? I want to hear from you. So definitely drop some comments below. Feel free to share this video, and thank you so much for watching. I will see you back again soon. All right, bye.